What's going on, guys? What's happening? So today, very, very special video. So this is going to be about love, most difficult placements that you can have in your natal chart for love. So let's get into it. Kick my shoes off and get comfortable. All right, so starting off the list, we have Venus-Pluto aspects. So this is just for the sake of everything, just to make it very clear, this is all about natal astrology, right? Yes, you can see some of these similar themes in synastry, but I'm going with natal. So Venus-Pluto. Also, when I say I'm talking more about the archetype, so yeah, Venus square, Pluto, Venus, opposite Pluto, quincunx, more of those tough ones, you know. Not as much. The conjunction's a little bit different. Yeah, so hard aspects. So this one just basically makes self-love really difficult, and people with this will tend to attract very dark partners until they start to actually love themselves. There's a big tendency with Venus-Pluto aspects, especially the square, in my experience, to throw yourself so fast and so hard on a new partner. Like especially if you have Neptune in your chart doing something, like Neptune, like if you have Pisces placements, or Neptune in the 5th or Neptune in the 7th, it's insane combo, right? And yeah, so it really is about learning self-love. I've seen this with so many people, and it's like once they start to really value themselves and really find their mission too, right? That's a big part of it, I think, about self-love, is finding your purpose, your mission. Then there's a direct correlation with the type of partners. I swear my friend has this exact square 0.00, and she attracted the most toxic men you could ever. She was a girl that could get any guy she wanted, probably, right? Just chose the most toxic, because the shadow of Pluto is that very low-life, criminal, toxic, right? So yeah, and also it's very common for Venus square Pluto to project a lot of their Pluto, so their unconscious darkness, unresolved unconscious darkness, if they haven't done the shadow work, onto their partner. So like a lot of of their own personal darkness will come up in their love life. Let's say they have abandonment issues that they haven't resolved. That will come up in their love life, right? I know that's true for everyone in general, but it's very, very true for that. So let's see, what else can I say? Yeah, also I think with that, that there is that potential to be very, very dominant and controlling. That's like a low side of this one. So I've seen people with this who, they're so afraid of losing that other person that they will go to just psycho links to keep them. Like, I'm talking just like stalking, just they have such a fear of losing this person, and they're so obsessed with this person, right? Because Pluto is obsession. So it creates a very toxic, yet it can be sexy too. But it's like, is that what you really want, right? Something that's so up and down, that's affecting your energy so much. I don't know. It's a little bit too much, but yeah. So yeah, all the inner work changes. So that's kind of with Pluto, and I want to also add, when you have it with Mars, right? It's a little bit different, and that's why I'm not going to make a full category about this, but it really, really is. It's I guess like Venus, Mars. That's maybe something I would talk about more in my synastry video, because it's more of a physical energy. I wrote a post recently where I talked about it. So actually, I'm not going to go into that right now. So next is the Neptunian Lover. So basically the way, and I just give these kind of titles to make it easier, but I'm writing down the timestamps to make it easier. But yeah, so basically, what is a Neptunian Lover? Well, that's someone who has, let's say, a lot of Pisces. Maybe maybe they have a lot of their Neptune is in the 5th house or the 7th house, right? Those are two houses that are very involved in the kind of romantic experience. Maybe that Venus in Pisces, right? Maybe Mars in Pisces, obviously Sun, Moon in Pisces. Maybe there's some Neptune aspects to their Venus or their Moon or whatever, right? I mean, there's a lot of potentials, but the point is that, and even like Juno, and I would actually say the same thing. No, that's a different category for perfectionism. But yeah, basically like that's like the rose-colored glasses in love type energy, right? And it's people who they meet someone, and that's why I said in the first part, like why that's like the worst combination with the Venus-Pluto, right? Is because they can have the tendency to meet someone and only and see that idealized version of them, that potential, not what's actually there currently, right? So the Neptunian lover is also a perfectionist. Like they see this person, and oftentimes once things progress and once that initial pink cloud phase is over, right? Like in every relationship, when eventually it's over, that's when it's funny, my Pisces tattoo is showing, but that's when they see that real person. I always say the relationship starts at the first fight. So a lot of times they're very disillusioned, and they've created this massive Romeo and Juliet, or just like Disney influence kind of movie in their head of how it's the perfect person, and they're blind to all their faults and all this and that, and then it comes crashing down when they actually finally see the reality. So yeah, I think like it's really important for people with that to have friends or people around them that can give them like a more objective view and to take things really slow, because yeah, it is that energy of of thinking you found that soulmate. And one thing also that I will add to this is that kind of through my own, thoughts, philosophies, just ideas I kind of ponder is like, I think that the imagination of the Neptunian is just so amazing, which makes them so good with manifestation. What was that? That was a bug. Nope. So it makes them so good with manifestation, but sometimes they manifest things that aren't really, really there, right? So they meet someone and they think like, oh, this is, like wow, like, and they find different synchronicities and they see all these amazing things. Everything is aligning, and then they're disappointed. So it's like also just really setting your expectations. And I think having awareness that that's something that you do is really, really good. Like I have like Neptune in the 5th, also Saturn and Uranus. And then I have the first two things I've talked about, I actually have. I didn't even realize that I did it like that. But yeah, so like with I guess like it's just about having good expectations, like kind of realistic expectations. Like, yeah, this person seems, like things seem amazing, but how many times has it happened when I thought this and it hasn't, it hasn't been that. So it's not about being negative. You still enter things with that curiosity of, maybe this could be something, but then you're just less disappointed when it isn't, or if it isn't. All right. So next is the perfectionist. So the perfectionist in love, right? So this one is very much, the Virgo, Venus, Virgo, Juno. Juno also is like in all of these, right? Just lots of Virgo placements, the Saturn kind of Capricorn energy. It's hard to pin down exactly everything here, but I see a lot with Virgo placements, and I think also the Neptune, the Pisces placements also do this, right? It's that Virgo Pisces axis where but like Virgo, it's more personal to them because Virgos are perfectionists, right? Like Virgos and Capricorn. So like a lot, this is also definitely Capricorn too, right? So what can happen is that if they haven't dealt with that perfectionism within themselves, like where like nothing is ever good enough that they do, blah, 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 then they're going to meet partners and their standards are just going to be so high, right? And no one will ever be good enough, right? I see this a lot with Mars and Virgo. Like I can think of so many times, and they can just be super critical of that other person, and just like kind of calling out all the little things they do, kind of like a flow breaking energy. I know a lot of you guys listening can kind of feel what I'm talking about. Where you artistic people, we like to kind of be more in a flow state, right? And we like to believe that everything is possible. So when we have someone who comes along and it's not even being realistic, it's pessimistic. So this could go for Capricorn moon too. Yeah, like just even the perfectionist isn't really Scorpio, but yeah, I guess I'll make a different one for that. But yeah, basically just I think that yeah, it's just I've seen it with people where they're always looking for red flags, and I'm like, are you really unconsciously just like is it really just that you haven't accepted yourself and you're afraid because you haven't accepted yourself and learned that like you're good enough that you're afraid that they're going to dump you first, so you find a reason to dump them before they can do it? I don't know. Just something I think about. Anything else about that one? Yeah, so it just is kind of difficult. Now, the next one I'm kind of making up on the way. I'm trying to think of a title. Scorpio, like I guess I would call it like the flow breaker. The flow breaker, right? So the flow breaker is someone who might have placements like Scorpio moon, Capricorn moon, just a lot of like very serious placements. Mars and Virgo would go in there too. Lots of Saturn hard aspects. And of course, like I said, I'm saying this, but like you can have all of these, but you could have manifested them in the correct way, right? So that's very important. But I think with the flow breaker, like when you're someone like myself and like a lot of the people I do readings for and people I'm friends with, we like to believe that everything is possible. We like to be able to be free, to just express ourselves, to not have to edit ourselves, to not have to like feel like we're walking on eggshells. And there's certain energies where you feel like that around, right? And I think also what could fall into that would be like, like a Chiron in Leo, Saturn in the fifth, even though I have that, but just like where there's a restriction of that fire energy or that air energy, right? But really it's more about, I think it's more about like these very serious signs, right? And sometimes so if you've met anyone that's a Capricorn Scorpio, and I have friends that are this, but I've also met people who are they're like, or like a Virgo, Capricorn, Scorpio, like they're, or just those signs really. Like what else? Let me think. What else is there? I mean, yeah, any sign, like even like, any fixed sign can be really serious. Like Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, they can be very, very serious, right? And even Cancer can be, I mean, it's really like, yeah, like, I mean, yeah, it's really just the crazy mutables, right? Or like the three crazies, right? The Pisces, even Pisces. Yeah, any sign can be serious, but yeah, it's really like Gemini, Sag, or like there's a Gemini, Sag, or the crazies. Gemini, Sag, Pisces. But yeah. Anyways, so that's kind of very difficult when you have these types of placements, and it's just about learning to loosen up and not take life too seriously, right? And of course, you will still be able to find a partner that fits that, but I think that, and yeah, I mean, there is a type for everyone, right? But I think that on a psychological level, when you're kind of, what's a better word to use? When you're limiting yourself and you're being very mean to yourself on an unconscious level, right? Your inner self-talk is very, very negative. Then, and you're projecting that onto other people, that just can't be good for dating. That can't be good for love. So that's what I would say there. So next is the codependency lover. And I'm calling out here, it is, like a lot of like 7th house. This one's big, right? So this one is big karmically. I've seen this big time karmically too. So, people who have a lot of planets in the 7th, a lot of Libra placements, there's a lot, right? There's even like I'll talk about that next. But yeah, it's just difficult for people, like even like if they're like, let me think of some placements. Well, I'm gonna talk about Venus retrograde next, but yeah, I think that, like for example, like having like your South Node in Libra, I see it all the time, right? Or your South Node in the 7th house, your Moon in the 7th house, right? Like it's just, if a lot of the planets are over there in that area, you depend. It's just too. There's too much dependence on someone else to make you happy or to bring something to your life, right? Because 7th house is literally the other person. And Libra, so if you think about Libra, that whole I'm not happy unless I'm with someone else energy, which it can come in many different ways. It's like that feeling of like needing a relationship to complete you. And it's just very, very important to know that when you understand the axis of Aries Libra, that Aries is about the self, Libra is about other. So by learning to have a relationship where, like, it's almost like you have to be able to be happy alone, that whole thing. Like you won't attract a good relationship unless you're legitimately happy and satisfied being single. Like, not to talk about myself, I'm single right now, right? I just got out of a relationship, but I'm not forcing anything. Like I'm good. I'm good single. Like I'm fine. I'm good. There's a lot of benefits to it, honestly. So because of that, I'm not gonna just force something to happen. I'm not gonna look for something. Like if something comes my way, cool. But like that's sort of what I'm saying. But for a lot of people, it can be very difficult, and sometimes they can even put themselves down and have bad boundaries, right? Or be with narcissists or whatever, just because that feeling of being without a relationship that defines them feels so difficult. So there's a ton of healing that's needed there around that dependency. And that goes more into like psychology, right? Psychology of codependency, which I'm not going to get into right now. So next is kind of on a similar vein. It is the Venus retrograde in the natal chart, and I'll be short with this one. But I see people with this a lot who, when I talk to them, it does a lot of times kind of show up as like them judging their life and how good they're doing and how good their life is based on, if they're in a relationship or not, or how much love they are or not receiving. And I think that they can sometimes put people on pedestals too much. And almost that energy of being willing to drop anything, just to get a chance to hang out with that person. And, just as someone who talks to lots of women, and like I'm not gonna act like I, you know, haven't had females interested in me. Like, it's just, I mean, and it's just not attractive. Like very rarely is it attractive, to have someone like, if you're like in a relationship with them, yeah, but you can feel it when someone's putting you on a pedestal. And I know I have friends who are, I'm like, some of my closest friends are very wanted women, I guess you could say, or they're just like, very, very, they have lots of men pursuing them, and they tell me these things. They're like, it's just gross. Like, it's the energy, you can feel the energy, right? And it's almost like you're sending a message to that person: you're better than me, right? That's literally what it is. If we're being real, that's what that message is. And you're so amazing. But then what does that say to you? Like, put yourself in the shoes of that person. It's like, if someone puts you up here, but you don't feel like you're just a regular person, it's weird. Because you're like, why are they seeing me? They're just gonna be disappointed when they get to see that I'm just a normal human, right? So yeah, I think it really comes down to just loving yourself. But yeah, that acceptance, that letting go, and that acceptance of just things being different, and this life karmically, relationship wise. And it's not always like this with Venus retrograde. I see it in different ways, but this is one way it's popped up a lot. So yeah, just self-acceptance, and understanding that you are living this life the way it is for a reason, and the karmic lessons are the way they are for a reason. So yeah. So next is the emotionally closed / shy people. So yeah, so that one is definitely a big, so if we talk about someone who's emotionally closed, right? It's tough to kind of come up with the placements, isn't it, right? And shy, I could throw things at you. I could say, okay, well, emotionally closed could be, it could be water moons, honestly, even though they're supposed to be open, like a lot of times they're not. Or just water placements, right? It could be obviously the Capricorn moon. It could be the Cancer moon, the Pisces moon, like especially with men. Definitely the Saturn conjunct, square, and any aspect to the moon, Saturn, will make that difficult. But then with shy, that's like Mercury, right? So, or that could be like Saturn in the third house, Chiron and Gemini, Mercury, conjunct or square, opposite Saturn, whatever, Saturn, But like if we're talking about like emotionally shy, it could also be 8th house Saturn, right? There's a lot of different potentials. So yeah, I would say that a lot of people struggle with opening up and being vulnerable, and especially Capricorn moon or moon conjunct, and also like Saturn 7th house, would be part of this, or yeah, or even like Venus aspecting Saturn, So, but yeah, I think like what happens is like there's this, and this one really depends on the person's trauma, on their life, but it's like that feeling of like, if I show my true authentic self to this person, they're just gonna leave me. That's like the undertone, right? The psychological undertone. So yeah, it can be really, really hard to have that real intimacy. And there can be, with like the Scorpio moons, there can be a lot of trust issues, right? There can be a lot of trust issues, and, just self-esteem with a lot of these placements too, where they just feel like if they really show their true selves, that it's just they're not gonna be liked by the other person. but yeah, like even it doesn't like with Moon, Saturn, it doesn't matter what your moon sign is. I don't care if you have like a Sag moon. If it's with Saturn, it's going to be difficult. You know, obviously like some are more some moon signs are more and less complementary than first Saturn aspect, but yeah, first 30 years especially, it's going to be very difficult to express that Sag moon energy. So, you know, I think also like another way to look at this is like people who isolate, right? Like if there's like you know, a lot of 12th house people, right? Kind of talked about them earlier. And like even people with these types of placements, it can push them into isolation, right? Where they're just like, okay, like I don't want to trust, so I just want to be alone. So, you know, if you're always isolating, how are you going to find love, right? And obviously, like I said, it has a lot to do with trauma and attachment style and kind of how you bond, your, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, I would say like, I would say that, yeah, that's big. And, you know, on top of that, I would say that if there's a lot of 12th house energy, there can be a lot potential for self-sabotage in love, right? So yeah, I think, and then like with the difficult Mercury placements, right? Like even like Mercury square Pluto, Saturn, it's like really trying to understand, and you know, what is the internal message that I have about myself, right? So this is just like very like big picture stuff that's essentially around your self-image and the idea that you have around yourself, right? But when it is in a place that is, you know, very much, you know, emotionally closed and or shy, it's not going to be easy to find love, right? So there's a million different placements. And obviously, you should get a full reading, which you can book on my website. But you know, to know the full picture, because every chart is unique. But yeah, like it's definitely difficult with some placements like that. Okay. Next is the Uranian Aquarian Lover. So this is coming from Mr. Me, who has Aquarius, Venus, and Mars. But yeah, so here we have someone who might have issues with being too unattached. Like they need so much, you know, and this is not just Aquarius, Uranus, you know, Aquarius, you know, like Uranus doing big things, Aquarius doing big things in your chart, Uranus aspects. You know, it could be Uranus 7th, Uranus, yeah, like those kind of things. But Uranus, you know, in an aspect to your Venus or to your Moon, whatever, right? It's basically, and also Sagittarius, right? Sag is all about freedom as well. And just mutable placements in general. Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, less so, but you know, it's still a mutable placement. But like you also have to understand that, you know, you could have a Cap moon, right? And have Neptune, like a lot of my, like, you know, have Neptune conjunct your moon. So it's like there's a lot that goes into it. And yeah, so or have a Capricorn Venus and have Uranus conjunct it, you know? So yeah, it's very, very important. Basically, when you have certain placements that make you more Uranian, where you know, and I understand the link between this and like the Neptune, and I didn't really talk about this in the Neptune portion for a reason, right? So, basically, you know, as a Neptunian, you're so energetically sensitive, and this also goes for like, you know, just water energy in general, right? So you need a lot of space, you need a lot of alone time, and that can be really difficult, right? So it's a little bit difficult. It's different than like the Aquarius, which is more about just like needing to keep their identity within a relationship. Like I told you guys, I have Venus and Mars in Aquarius. Like I can't stand clinging energy, you know, and I like to sleep in my own bedroom. Like it's weird, whatever. I don't care. You know, I just don't care because when you talk to very Aquarian people, they'll agree with this, that like the worst thing is it's about individuality. So the worst thing is that whole couple bubble right? I made the video about the like don't become your composite chart. That's like I think it's like my fourth video, maybe fourth Cosmo Sessions video. But yeah, it's just very important for people with placements like this to still keep themselves, to not lose that sense of me as an individual. Once they do, or if they have like a partner that tries to kind of constrain them, it's game over because the relationship starts to feel like a prison. And some people like it's different for everyone, right? Some people like having that type of cleanness, I guess, or just that type of obsession or that type of closeness, right? And it's not that Aquarius or like these types of people with these types of placements don't like closeness or intimacy. It can actually be extremely magical. It's that, and like we're so appreciative when we're given that space and when we're understood and not demonized for it, that it's like cats. It's like Aquarius energy. Aquarius will come to you. You can't come to you. Can't, like the more you push towards like someone with a lot of Uranus, Aquarius, mainly, but like also these other placements too. A lot of times they'll push away, and then with like I was saying with the more Neptunian people, that's just like it's just about being able to communicate in a very honest way. And also understanding that you might need some energetic breaks, right? I always talk about this, right? That I don't think relationships are really like, I think it's crazy that as humans we, that we spend this much time with another person in such close quarters. And yeah, I don't know. I think that like sometimes if things are going bad, take 3 months away, if that's possible, or just really, really have what I call the energetic reset, and then see what comes from that. Do you miss the person? Or if you don't, maybe you weren't supposed to be together anyways, or you're growing apart. So that is it for today. Thank you guys. So I would love to hear your guys' comments or what you guys have to say. If you guys if you guys fall into any of these categories, a lot of people fall into multiple. And yeah, let me know in the comments. Give me subscribe for more videos every Monday. And it was a pleasure. Yeah, this was fun. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say. All right. And yeah, if you want to get a reading, Jesse Innocent Astrology at jesseinnocentastrology.com. I'm tired. This is like my fourth video in a row. It's literally fourth in a row. I just switch shirts every time. But yeah, jesseinnocentastrology.com to book a reading. At Jesse Innocent Astro on Instagram. That's where I post. That's where I mainly am. I'm trying to become a YouTuber, but obviously it takes time. So thank you guys for supporting me. I'll talk to you guys later. Ciao.